Acolytes. The gift that keeps on giving forever as it seems. Assassin's Creed Shadows has a drama thing again. I actually expected that after its release it will be, well, basically over, that it's done, there will be no more funny things to talk about. But hey, I was wrong. Ubisoft just keeps on effing up. And I love it. Let's milk this Assassin's Creed cow until it's dry. So, let's start.
Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we're going to be once again talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're going to spend some time looking at the latest numbers for this game and how the player counts are already dwindling quite significantly as we start the new week. But we're going to mainly focus on the reaction from journalists across the board. Whether it's games journalists or journalists from mainstream media sources, they are releasing fluff piece after fluff piece about Ubisoft in this game, and it's working. It's having a...
Oh, and I mean shills will be shills anyway, so that's why nobody respects them anymore. But yeah, let's just see. Okay,
positive reaction in the Ubisoft stocks right now. And all of these articles that are being released that we're going to look at today, almost all of them are actively misleading readers. I mean, it is very obvious that they are twisting and manipulating some of the information out there about this game in order to make Ubisoft look good. So let's begin with this one right here that is quite desperate from The Gamer. Here's the headline: Assassin's Creed Shadows is going pretty well with fans, which only goes to show that all of this outrage means nothing. Play the game for yourself. And it's captioned here, I'm getting my own opinion. Stop listening to others and try it out for yourself. Yeah, so...
This is from a journalist that wants you to hear their opinion. Can you hear the effing... I'm not even... Okay.
Basically what they're saying is ignore everything going on. Ignore all the criticisms. Just consume product. You stupid gamer. Just go out there and buy this $70 game because I said so, and it'll own the chuds on Twitter.com and other social media places. I mean, it's a really desperate attempt. Again, they're just saying, buy this. Don't trust what anyone's saying negatively about this because you should just try it out anyways. And honestly, a lot of people are trying it out, and the reviews are not very good from players. They're very mixed. No matter what source you use, people are very divided on this game. However, this same article goes on to say some wild stuff here. So it says, with Shadows, the anger has come from many directions. Those claiming to be offended on behalf of Japan at the historical inaccuracy of romances in a series that has always kept reality.
You don't have to be offended on behalf of Japan. They are offended enough. If a Japanese person could, they would probably, well, do bad things with you.
At arm's length, or simple outrage at playing as Yasuke at all. Wow. So those claiming to be offended on behalf of Japan, they're basically saying there is no actual offense taken by people in Japan, which is an absolutely ridiculous thing to say. We all know the many different controversies involving this game, and anything associated with Shadows on any side of Japanese social media gets bombarded with negativity. People are not happy. I mean, you can see the official trailer right here on Ubisoft Japan. And this is a case where dislikes can be overcome by support, right? You can have 17,000 dislikes on this trailer if there's 80,000 likes, you know, something to counterbalance it, but there's no support. It's not just the negative responses. There is no positive support coming out of Japan. And
So yes, again, journalists lying in your face. That's why I and a lot of people repeat, you don't hate journalists or companies enough, acolytes. Just don't give them the time of the day and they will die out.
It seems like nobody's offended. We've had multiple government responses to this game, including right now, the Prime Minister of Japan actively denouncing some of the aspects of Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Especially that it's more Chinese inspired than Japanese.
That's how...
And the Japanese things, at least to a certain patch, could have been destroyed.
Serious it is Not to mention, there's some reports that allegedly some major retailers in Japan have stopped selling Assassin's Creed Shadows and saying that they have suspended sales for this game. Now, of course, we don't know the exact reason yet, but that's not a very good look, and it's a very odd time to be doing this only a few days after this release of this controversial game. Now, there's other people trying to spin these numbers in a positive way for Ubisoft, including Dexerto, because of course Dexerto is going to shill for Ubisoft. They say this: Assassin's Creed Shadows becomes biggest Steam release in AC franchise history with 64,000 concurrent players, which is, again, pretty misleading when you have games like Valhalla that didn't release on Steam until 2 years after the game launched on console. And if you look at some examples here, right?
No, I think Rev misunderstood their AC franchise. I mean, isn't that specifically Assassin's Creed? Because I don't see any similarities between Assassin's Creed and Valheim. Or did he say Valhalla? Wait.
After the game launched on console. And if you look at some examples here, right? So people are putting big weight on Steam numbers here. And of course, if you point out the numbers compared to other games, all of a sudden Steam numbers don't matter. But in this case, according to people supporting this Steam number really matters. These Steam statistics, they really matter. And Ubisoft, through their Assassin's Creed Shadows accounts, have been sharing certain information, like if they're the #1 seller, right? Well, you can do that and twist that to basically make anything look really good. So here's a great example. Yasuke Simulator. This was a wild slop game, let's be honest, that was created out of the outrage surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows. I mean, you have Yasuke here mowing people down with guns and AK-47s. Like, it's a complete meme of a game, but it got a lot of attention because people were looking at a way to show how ridiculous this game is and its reception. And as you can see, thanks to, in part, a stream by Asmongold, yesterday Yasuke Simulator had more viewers on Twitch than Assassin's Creed Shadows. #1, showing the influence of someone like Asmongold, by the way. But looking at the two, and like, how does this happen? And if you look again, if you want to consider some titles on SteamDB to be something you can share, right now, on the hot list here, Yasuke Simulator is #1 with a...
You are shitting me. Oh, this is beautiful. Pathologic 3, okay. I didn't even know that the third one is out. Okay.
A 92% rating. That is pretty crazy. And the reason I point this out again is because some of these titles would be used by Ubisoft if they could. If this was Assassin's Creed Shadows at #1, they would be using this and posting a screenshot of it because they're trying to create this idea that Steam is really important, but only when it's serving them in a positive way or a positive spin they can make out of it. Also, I see people say, well, wait a second, Yasuke Simulator, it has like 200 players right now. Well, yeah, besides the fact it is a meme game that you can complete in less than an hour, it's not about that. It's to show the amount of mobilization people can have for something like this in response to the disappointment directed towards Ubisoft and Shadows. But looking at the numbers of Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's going down. And if I refresh the page right now, yep, it goes down again. This was in the last like 10 minutes. It's just dropping off because it's already reached a peak for the...
Nice, it's a real-time drop-off. Nice. Good to know. And sorry from the sounds in between, but sometimes other acolytes send me videos. I just want to prepare them while I'm listening. Yes, I can do those both things at the same time. Don't worry about it. But this is just... Assassin's Creed is still a beautiful disaster.
The day. Right now, 41,000 in-game players. We're not even a week into release. That's not good. And again, people say, well, wait a second. They have a lot of other sources than players coming through on Steam. Of course they do. But comparatively to other games, this is not good. And comparing it to its own numbers on this release, there's some concerning things. Like the fact that we likely already reached the all-time high in terms of concurrent players on Sunday. And here's today. This is the next day. Now it's 44,000. It went from 64,000 to 44,000. The peak went down by 20,000. I mean, that's really concerning. That's like more than a 25% drop in your peak player count over the course of a day. I mean, we've seen other titles like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Monster Hunter, Marvel Rivals, Wukong, and so on and so forth continue to keep the pace up for weeks sometimes, and even sometimes gaining even more momentum over time. But this drop-off is not good. And I don't understand how anyone can say, yeah, this game's in a really good place right now. The interest is already fleeting, and this is not a game where interest should be lost this quickly. But, of course, they don't want you to know these things. As Ubisoft and all of these journalists and these shills, they will gladly post Steam information when it serves them. But, of course, Ubisoft doesn't want Steam numbers to be out there. In fact, they were ones just months ago trying to hide concurrent player counts on Steam because they knew it would make them look bad. But here's some more pieces here. You, of course, have this number being used over and over again. Assassin's Creed sharing that they have 2 million players a few days ago. And that number has been used over and over again. I don't have to explain for the millionth time how using players is trying to deceive people because they don't have the copies or units sold to match that 2 million number. But of course, PC Gamer and alike are trying to use that as a spin.
Yeah, but the thing is, Accurate actually explained it to me. Now I understand that the unique players is actually total bollocks because you have the premium system of Ubisoft, you pay a month and people just want to play it. But also that means that it's just not unique players that go out in there and bought the entire thing. The players just play the game without buying it. So the sold copy is irrelevant, basically. I mean, the player count is irrelevant. If this isn't a bought copy, one of the, even like half of them, then it's basically a zero-sum win.
Assassin's Creed Shadows hits 2 million players, putting it on track to be the series' most successful game yet. Me when I am coping. That is a very bold claim. And again, their entire basis for this is the 2 million players number that was shared by Ubisoft. Now, looking at this article itself, they are completely misleading the reader. Like, this is very intentional and I think very unethical for them to do. So here's this section. In fact, Shadows is on track.
I mean, it's Ubisoft at this point. Honestly, I expect nothing less. So,
to be one of the biggest game releases of the year. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was hailed as a hit earlier this year and took 2 weeks to hit 2 million players, a milestone Shadows reached in just a few days. This is a very deceiving comparison. So they're taking what was copies sold and changing it to players and then comparing it to Shadows to show that not only is Shadows on par with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, oh no, they're actually doing better. That is what they're trying to do here. And of course, they say Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, 2 million players. Well, it takes like 1 second of research to see they didn't use players when they reported that. They used 2 million copies. So they are trying to twist these numbers in order to make Shadows and Ubisoft look better. I think that is very misleading and a very intentionally done set of misleading here. They did this on purpose because they know they can spin this number in a way that makes Ubisoft look good. And they're using Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 as a way to do that, which is pretty...
I mean, 500 copies sold and 2 million players just sounds a bit better. One of those two is definitively superior to the other.
Messed up, if you ask me. But here's another one from Insider Gaming. And I'm just going to drop some foreshadowing here. We probably got some stuff to talk about with Insider Gaming based on some stuff I've seen, but too much for one video, so I'm going to probably have that done for a later date. But you can see their headline posted today, Assassin's Creed Shadows is Ubisoft's second biggest launch to date. Wow, that sounds really great. Until you actually start thinking about it, right? Until you actually start thinking about it. So this is basically the summation of the article. This was the author, Tom Henderson, and he shares this. Had to remove the original Valhalla/Shadows tweet because I was sourcing the Valhalla wiki, which was inaccurate. A journalist just straight up admitting they're using a Valhalla wiki for their article to make claims about whether or not a game is a success. Wow, dude.
For F's sake. This is Valhalla Day 1 2.55 mil. Odyssey? I guess it's Assassin's Creed Odyssey. 450. Shadows? Day 2. Day 2, not Day 1. 2.2.
Anyways, behind the scenes data via Ubisoft sources. Valhalla Day 1 player numbers, 2.5 million. Odyssey Day 1 player numbers, 430,000. Shadows Day 2 player numbers, 2.2 million. Now, of course, weird comparison because they're comparing Day 1 numbers of Valhalla to Day 2 numbers for Shadows, which is already kind of odd. But also, you have to keep in mind, Valhalla wasn't even released on Steam until 2 years after its initial launch. So that is a very deceptive comparison. Not to mention, again, the Day 1 versus
I said Valhalla, yeah.
Day 2. Just trying to fluff the numbers to make Ubisoft look good. But down here they say Shadows should do about 6 million in its first month on its trajectory. Valhalla did 8 million. Now, of course, looking at that, 6 million, even if true, which I think this is a very wild claim, and again, it's players, not copies. If they sold 6 million copies in the first month of this game's release, I don't really know how huge of a win that is for Ubisoft. It's definitely not an L, but they need to sell, from what I've heard, at least 10 million units, not players, units, to have this game considered a success by their own definition. And here, 6 million, I mean, I hope they can keep the momentum going for a long time, because that would be a little bit underwhelming for a game as big as this. And again, it can't be overstated, 6 million players.
Ref is way kinder than me. I would rather that it burns down than actually succeeds. Because as Ref said he wants the momentum to keep up for it. I would say no. It should come to a stop. It would be way funnier that way. Of course, it would be the death of Assassin's Creed Shadows, but at this point, hey, every franchise gets shafted in anyway, so let's make it at least quick and painless.
And I like how they stop using the players' terminology down here. They just say 6 million without actually specifying what they mean by that, which, of course, we kind of get at this point. But there's one more big fluff piece, and I think a very important one and a very telling one, coming from the Wall Street Journal. Yes, the mainstream media is now doing a fluff piece on Ubisoft. So here's their headline: Ubisoft shares surge after blockbuster launch on new Assassin's Creed game.
I find this beautiful. This implies to me that from all those games, this is the one that actually the most copies just stood there and didn't even get sold.
Company posted the launch twice to give developers more time to polish the game. Oh, isn't that so nice? What a great spin on that. But basically, they're trying to convince you, the reader, and this is a mainstream source, that this was a blockbuster launch, and that this was a great thing, and that these delays were actually a really calculated and nice effort by these developers to make sure this game was just so perfect for everyone. Well, here's the thing. When you have all these games journalists, and more importantly, you have the mainstream media making fluff pieces about Assassin's Creed Shadows and Ubisoft, it's not surprising that today there's been a 7.5% increase in Ubisoft's stock. And that's not too surprising because people are, quite frankly, probably pretty blind to the overall context.
Yeah. By the way, in my opinion, you could be, or you should be allowed to sue them for lying. Because this isn't even like an opinion or something like that. This is a straight out lie.
I think it's pretty easy to convince a lot of people with these player numbers versus copies sold. They will just see the players and they think, oh, that's the same as units or copies sold, which it's not. And honestly, anyone who falls for this, by the way, anyone who actually gets tricked by these fluff pieces and invests in Ubisoft, I don't feel bad for you when you're going to lose money on this because you got tricked by something that would take just an ounce of critical thinking skills to identify it as a fluff piece. Like, that's really all it is. But yeah, for now, that's where we stand on Assassin's Creed Shadows. I don't really know what else to talk about, at least in the short term about this. We've seen some of the initial launch numbers. We've seen some of the initial reaction. And now we're seeing the barrage of articles trying to fluff this game up. And we'll see if it continues to work for Ubisoft. But man, they have such a big hill to climb. This is like the tip of the iceberg. Like, Shadows succeeding, and if it does get considered a success by Ubisoft standards, that just kept the lights on. That's keeping them going and keeping them from getting bought out by Tencent. And that's still definitely on the table. People are saying, oh, well, with 2 million players in this game, Tencent, they don't really have a shot at getting Ubisoft anymore. No, I really don't think so. And I don't even think that this game is succeeding. That's off the table whatsoever. But yeah, this is basically keeping them from being an easy mark at this point. And now the next game, what's the next big project for Ubisoft? Because it needs to do really well, just like Shadows. They have to literally have hit after hit after hit for the next probably year or two to start gaining back some trust in people and trust in investors and actually have their
Yeah, no, they need one very good game, then the trust is back.
market value start to go up. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topic.
Yeah. This is actually quite sad, to be honest. It would be better if they just finally end this entire charade, but at the end of the day, yeah, Ubisoft is desperate as I see it. They just need this thing to succeed. They need this. And maybe it will. It still has a chance. But the chance is dropping day by day. Hour by hour. Second by second. So, Acolytes, let's see what happens. But in the end, good night.